Hi, I'm Cyaneink and today I'm going to show you how you can paint this cute little bunny. And since this is for beginners, I will actually share the line art in my website. You can print it out there and trace it for the watercolor paper. You can either use a window or light table if you have one. Mine is drawn on the card page, so I can use this as Easter card. And colors we are using are really basic. You can use basically any watercolors. And reason I pick these Winsor&Newton ones is because this selection is really classic. And if you haven't yet done so, you can do a little swatch card of your paint where you like each color you make little swatch and you can then see what the colors are in the real life because they are really different on the pan. And we are starting with I like to start with like the main subject, so the bunny. So I'm wetting my brush and then wetting the whole bunny area. And you can see the paper is like glimmering, so you know that area is then wet. It depends on your paper. My paper is cellulose, so it dries a little bit quicker than the cotton paper, but it's just need to be the damp. We are going to make this bunny brown, and I will pick up the burnt sienna color I have here. So this is reddish brown color, usually included in every watercolor set. And I'm just going to give this area a even wash. And I'm quite careful. I will want to leave the tail white, so I'm quite careful with that area. Same goes with the edges. If you make mistake and you get color over the edges, that's okay. You can go later and plot it. I will actually show it because I actually had a little bit mistake on my bunny. I'm also leaving the, well, now notice that I didn't catch all the way here in the head. So with the damp brush, it doesn't have any paint left. I will just go and damp this edge, so the edge meet the line art. Again, cleaning my brush. And when you're having small mistakes like this, it's better always wait that they are dry completely before you fix them. So wait it to dry and then we will blot that out. But in the meantime, we can paint the flowers here. So we are going to have like warmer, more darker yellow in this cup part, and the petals are lighter one. But for the flowers, I'm actually going to use at first same bright yellow on the both of the petals, because watercolors are transparent and you can paint over them really easily. So, and this time I didn't pre-wet this one because it's small area and I want to have really strong color. I'm being really careful and I'm trying not to go over the lines. Then again, I'm cleaning my brush and wiping it off. Now I'll take the clean water and we are going to fix this area there. It's really small and minor, but I want to show how you can fix mistakes if they happen. I go with the clean brush, wet this area. Only the area I want to erase I will wet. Then I will take the tissue paper and blot it out. And these watercolors are water soluble. You can just like do that. And we have other area here. Because I'm right-handed, I like to rotate my artwork so that the I can come from like right side of the line. I'm wetting it slowly and really gently rubbing over with my brush. When you can see that it starts to like disappear, you can go and plot it. The bunny, if you are wondering, you should never go when watercolor is like half dried state, which is happening here, because this area is still wet and this one is not. You can see when I tilt it, it has like a bit sheen. Also, you can gently touch it. It feels cold and damp, but whenever paper feels cold to the touch, it still has wetness inside, so it shouldn't be touched. So in the meantime, we could paint the leaves of the plant. You could use green like I have in my palette, or if you don't have a green, you can pick up the yellow. You can pick up the yellow that is closer to green in the shade wise. That is like cold yellow, which is in my case here, but this one is quite opaque and I don't like it that much. And also I don't need the green to be bright. It can be a bit muted, so I'm just picking this more warmer yellow, which is actually quite in mid-range. It isn't that warm. Then we are picking up the blue. And the blue I like to use is this one. And it's phthalo blue, really common one. And I'm just taking a tiny bit of it because it's really powerful color. And usually presented almost in every. We have really nice bright green now. But that bright green is quite not realistic looking one. It's quite like unnatural green. So we want to tone that down. And for toning down, I can either go with the opposite color of the green, which is in red in this case, or I can use something close to same color family. And I'm actually going to use brown because the red here I think it's quite opaque and it's quite strong. So we are going with this brown one here. Just a tiny bit of the reddish brown I have, and we can tone the color a bit. And you can see my test sheet that looks like a bit more natural looking now. I'm wetting my brush again, cleaning it up, and let's go and paint the stem of the plant. This one I'm using really carefully, and when I'm doing detail work, I like to keep my brush almost to like perpendicular to the paper. I hold it really upright. And now we have the green on the brush. I will same time do the ground here. And for ground, I'm going to do just color over under the ground line. I want to get a little bit strong there. Then I'm cleaning my brush again, and then I'm fading it a bit. With the clean water, I'm pulling it a bit down, and I'm just going back and forth movement with my brush. We are going to the second layer in the shadows, and I'm using the same burnt sienna color. It will be a bit darker because I use that for the original layer. I'm taking the paint here, and because I see that my brush is really loaded with the water, I had quite water on the pan, I will just tiny tap on the towel. So I will dry it a little bit. I'm doing that because I don't want the color from beads. It formed beads still, so then we can go with the paper towel to suck it up. I'm using only the corner. I don't want to pat it, because if I go and pat it, it will be then going to go lighter color. We are going to like neck of the bunny, area that would be shaded by the ear. And then I'm going with the little bit on the belly of the bunny, and also the paw that is behind the other paw. Then I'm cleaning my brush wiping it on the tissue, and I'm adding too much water there. And then I'm doing the same fading thing on the edges. So, but this time I'm fading it a little bit longer because because I didn't pre-wet the area, I need to fade it so that I can't see the edge anymore. It's not big deal if there's some edges happen because you can go and blend them when they haven't been dried, but I'm just like blending them towards the middle of the bunny so I can make it softer. And then I'm letting it to dry. Reasons why I blend in on that way is that I'm imagine that they are like soft edges because the bunny body is like turning. But here, this area I didn't blend at all because it is like hard edge. This is the paw that is behind the other paw, so shadow is like hard edges shadow. And this one I'm maybe blending a little bit more. I don't want to create hard shadows here. And you can just let it to dry, and we can add that later. Now we can do the yellows on that flower. So we are going to have, let's take the yellow. And this yellow is quite cold, even if it's like the warmer of the two. But it's quite cold, which means that it leans towards the blue. So it's like greenish yellow. And I want the middle part here to be a bit more warmer. So I'm just taking tiny bit of this red color I have and mixing with the yellow. And just the tiniest bit because I don't want it to turn it to like orange. I just want to turn it warmer. And I'm doing this swatch here to evaluate is that right warmest for me. I want it a little bit more warmer than that. So again, super tiny bit of the red to the yellow, and now we have the warmer shade. This is a bit warmer than what I want like the final color to be, but the final color will be mix of this and also the color that is already in the flower. So I'm coloring like the middle part of the flower. And then we can let it dry. Now when the watercolor has dried here, it has actually done like the drying shift. So the green has turned lighter, and also my mix is quite light. And I'm thinking like I want it to be a bit more darker. So to darken that up, I'm going to mix more of the mix. I'm using the color, the blue, same blue as before. It's more like the blue that leans into turquoise, that looks more like greenish blue. And then I'm adding the yellow to the mix. But since again I'm getting this really unnatural green, which I'm not so happy, we need to tone it down. And I'm using the same method, so I'm taking the burnt sienna color, which is the brown, and mixing it with my green. And now we have a little bit darker shade of the green, but it's more natural and more like better suited for the grass color. For the darker side, I'm not going all the way to edges. I'm just leaving it here in the middle. And again, I'm going to take clean water and fade the color to the edges. Then I want to darken the plant area. And I didn't add wet to my brush, I just take the color from the palette and I'm adding it to the leaves. And again, since I'm working in really tight space, I keep my brush upright. That gives me much more control than having it sideways. Also notice that I'm using my pinky to rest. I rest it on the palette, but best way would have a bit more space and rest the pinky on the table, like so, and then hold your brush really perpendicular to paper. That way you can get really controlled lines. Also, I'm holding my brush close to the ferrule, so I will have nice and controlled grip. I'm adding even more color to the areas that I think could be in the shade, so the upper part of the stem and leaves that are from the down here. And since this is from the same mix I used before, the effect is really subtle, so I don't need to fade it and I don't need to worry about that it looks too strong. For the flowers, I'm going to add some yellow on the middle parts, but I want it to be a bit darker because it's shaded and I want to bring out the shape more. So let's take, I'm going to use this yellowish brown to shade it, which is, I think it's yellow ochre. If your brown is too strong, you can mix it with the yellow. Like here, I'm just putting some ochre there and then taking the yellow and mixing them together. And again, I'm using my pinky as resting position, adding color there. A little bit to the base of the, it's like trumpet shape. Now in the bunny, I had shading here and there, and I want to add shading to the face as well. And I'm going to show it how I can do it differently. In how I feel it, I think it's a bit harder than the way I did here. Like here we did the shade first and then added the color and faded them. That's, I think, in my case easier. But I'm going to show other thing, how you can do it. I will wet my brush and then dry it on the towel so it becomes damp. I want to be like on the drier side, but so that it still has some water in it. And I'm going to give really light wash to this face area of the bunny. I'll be really careful not to move or rub the brush too hard because I don't want to reactivate the watercolor underneath, only to give it a damp layer. Then I'm again wetting my brush, wiping it a bit off and taking the same color we used in the bunny. And I'm now going to paint the edges of the chin and the ear, and also a little bit of the ear as well. Now I'm drying my brush really well and blending it a bit more. It now blends a bit easier and smoother because the surface was already wet. But you have to be really careful not to let the water reactivate the previous layers that may cause blooming issues. And I'm going to take, this brush I used here is a natural sable hair. And the other brush I'm now using is synthetic. And it has short, tiny short bristles. It's one of my favorite to do details. And you can use detail brush, anything that has short and sharp tip works. And I'm taking the bunny color here. The brush is very, very dry, so this is now really strong color. And I'm going to add some more shadows to the areas that are the darkest in the bunny. So the paw that is in the behind the other paw, definitely in the shadow. I'm also adding same here. And I'm also blending this out because I don't want to hard. So I'm taking clean water and giving it a good blend. I'm going to leave this shadow actually unblended. And then here as well, I'm going to leave it unblended. Then I'm going with my green mix. I have contamination in my brush. And we are going to add some strokes on the leaves. I want to add some interest here and some like and now for the flowers I'm adding some. I think actually my brush was a little bit dirty because but I'm adding some lines to the petals so they have some kind of shape. I'm trying to wipe my brush really well here so I can take some clean color. I'm taking yellow shadow color. And here you can see the effect that because I have like yellow color I'm trying to shade here, I can't get any darker on that shade, so I need to go with the brown. It's same brown I used for the mix, so it's quite close. And for the extra touch, I'm actually going to add some shadows on the ground as well. And for those I'm going to use the green I mixed there, but I want to use it a little bit darker. So this time I'm adding the red in the mix. So we are using the same colors there. But since I want it darker, I had the tiny bit of red there. And it's now a little bit darker, but I'm actually not happy with the shade. I want to add a little bit more blue to that. So I'm giving it more blue. And now we have the problem that the color is actually turquoise, so it's not the color I was hoping. And I'm using the now again the touch of red. I'm washing my brush in between because I didn't want to take the full load of the brush here. But I take a little bit of red there so I can tone it down. Now it's darker, but it's more muted down. And why I wanted that blue is that because blue makes really nice shadow color. And this shadow I'm adding underneath the bunny. A little bit on the flower. Then I'm drying my brush really well. And So here we have it, and it's done. And you can let it dry before you handle it too much, because the watercolor stays surprisingly long as wet. And you can feel it when you touch it, that if it still feels cold to the touch, then it means there has moisture inside. So let it dry completely. Remember that watercolors are not waterproof, so if you are mailing this card, use the envelope, because they are not. Colors will spread when you water them. If you want extra protection, it's going like international mail. You can then having it in the like plastic sleeve to protect it. So yeah, that was my watercolor tutorial, and I hope you have a wonderful Easter. Bye!